emails. His sworn congressional testimony on taxpayer-funded research at the Wuhan lab now seems to contradict the facts. And for more on all this, we're going to bring in Kentucky Congressman James Comer, who's calling on Tony Fauci to testify under oath before Congress. And Congressman, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure. So Fauci now says he is the science, and anyone who questions him is attacking science. The mainstream media never really challenges him, so he's able to get away with a lot of these statements, but there are a lot of legitimate questions for this man.
You're right. Fauci's watched the Democrats every time they've gotten in a bind over the past 12 months. They've tried to play the race card. Now he's coined the term the science card. So he's playing the science card. You can't attack him because you're attacking science. That's nonsense. And what we've called upon Dr. Fauci to do is testify under oath before the House Oversight Committee. And if I'm Dr. Fauci, I would want to testify under oath before a congressional committee to get my point of view across, because for better or worse, Dr. Fauci's been the face of COVID-19 from the very start. People have listened to his every word. Policies, regulations have been crafted citing his position. And now these emails have put all that into question. So Dr. Fauci should want to come and try to set the record straight.
I mean, there's a lot of examples. Like we just had, the mask thing. He writes in an email that masks really don't work unless you're actually sick with the virus. You shouldn't have to wear them. And then he makes, 350 million Americans wear them for a friggin' year. Drives everybody nuts. Last month, Fauci told Congress that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. But in a letter to Fauci, you and Congressman Jim Jordan are asking him to explain a possible discrepancy in his sworn congressional testimony about this. Tell us more about that.
Well, he testified that no tax dollars had gone to the lab in Wuhan. We've determined that 600,000 at least did go to a nonprofit called EcoHealth Alliance, which was then funneled to the Wuhan lab. So we have questions about that. We have questions about any other potential tax dollars going to the Wuhan lab. We have questions about any potential American companies that were doing business in the Wuhan lab and what they knew and when they knew it. There's so many questions that the American people deserve answers to. Fauci should come and testify under oath.
His emails point to the contrary. In one email from February of 2020, virologist Christian Anderson wrote, "One has to look really closely at the sequences to see that some of the features look engineered and that the genome is inconsistent with expectations from evolutionary theory." Fauci was also thanked by an organization that funds the Wuhan lab for helping to promote the idea that that COVID was not leaked from a lab too. So I think you're on the right track here, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
There's a lot of evidence that would point to Dr. Fauci being a hypocrite at worst. It would point to the fact that he did have knowledge and he should have had suspicions, like President Trump said early on, that this lab could have been engineered in that Wuhan lab. It could have been an accident. It could have been intentional. We don't know, but we deserve answers. This has disrupted the American economy for the past 12 months. It set school children back a year, disrupted our lives. So we deserve answers. And the fact that Dr. Fauci went on television multiple times a day for over a year, and he now suddenly won't say a whole lot. He goes with Chuck Todd or the very friendly mainstream media. And even those guys are hard on Dr. Fauci. Everybody wants answers. Even a lot of the liberals want answers to the origination of COVID.
We've been miserable for the last year. And it really is something. And you know what it teaches you is that they all sit there and scream science, science, science. But what you learn is that politics has trumped science on this subject, on COVID. And that is exactly why you have to question everything that you hear from anyone in the government. And that's always the truth. Kentucky Congressman James Comer, sir, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.